for attending today, and want to welcome everybody to this morning's Geopath out-of-home office hours. And I'm Scott Piachetti, and I'm here with Brian Shopper of Geopath.
Morning.
Morning, everyone. I just want to do a quick, sorry, we had a little bit of technical difficulty when we were logging in. That's why there was the brief pause after I started. Can somebody just ping us in the question tab? I want to make sure you're hearing us okay, and that you know, you're able to hear what we're saying and that it's coming through clearly, because we had a bit of audio. Great, awesome. Thank you, everyone. Perfect. Awesome. Thanks so much, because I didn't want to do this and have you guys hear us. Awesome. Cool. So just want to again say thank you for that, and thank you for attending today. So what we want to do today is want to give you a sense of what is the new Geopath Insight Suite, what are some of the key features, what does it look like, give you a sense of what are the updates that have happened since we did this session back in May, and then do an actual walkthrough. So show you how to, for some of you, this may be the first time you're seeing the tool or first time you're in the tool. So we want to give an overview of what are some of the key features and functionality, and then dig down into some of the key changes from, like I said, in May. And then we'll also show you where you can go and find support, ask questions, find out more information, and also provide feedback, because that's a key thing for us as we right now are in this development stage. And so we want to continue to get feedback from all of our members, because as we say, this is a tool that we're building for the industry, but we really want it to feel like it's built by the industry. And we've been doing that in a number of ways. We've had our Geopath Finder beta testers helping us out right from the beginning of the development stage. We did some, one-on-ones with users to see what were some of the good things and bad things about the old tools, how they want to see some features and functionality in the new tools. And that led into the beta testing when we actually had this live version of the tool available. And now, because it's released to everybody, everyone's our Geopath Finder. So we want to continue to get feedback from everybody. So I encourage you, if you haven't had a chance yet after this call, sometime soon after, please go in and explore the tool and give us feedback, because on things that are working and things that ideas you might have on ways to improve it. And we'll show you where you can do that within the tool in our feedback button. A couple things I also want to make sure everybody's aware of too, is we're doing what's called an agile release program or development program. What that means is that every couple of weeks you'll see changes happening to the tool based on the feedback we get, based on our development schedule. So I encourage you to keep checking in and see how the tool's improving, and see how the different features and functionality are being added to the tool. And we're going to continue to do these out-of-home office hour sessions on training on the tool throughout the development cycle. So we did a bunch in May. We're doing them now in June, and we'll continue to do them at the end of the month for the foreseeable future. And at this point, I always want to make sure everybody's aware that the impression data in the tools itself, the Geopath Insight Suite, is for non-commercial use at this point. So as we start to develop the tool and refine the data in there, and as the tool becomes the currency of the industry, is then when we'll switch over and it will be for commercial use. So at this point, again, it's really to start to see the features and see the functionality, explore the inventory in there, and if you see anything that looks, that you have a question on, please contact us, and we go in and explore and really make sure everything's working properly at this point. Just this slide here, I just want to show this usually just to give you a sense of all the different data inputs that are supplying data to the new tool. From our partners at City Labs and AirSage that are giving the trip information, that mobile data, all the way to our demographic partner, which is Claritas, which you'll see some of the handful of demographic attributes that we have in the tool right now. And just know that those are going to expand. Our partnership with Claritas allows us to access like 10,000 plus different audience data points. So you want to know who's who's likely to buy a car in the next 12 months and which inventory over indexes for that, you're going to be able to do that. Or you want to see like which inventory over index for Starbucks drinkers, you're going to be able to do that. So much more akin to how digital targets we're going to be able to target with our out-of-home inventory, with out-of-home using this new tool, rather. It's a better way to say it. So I want to talk to you about some of the things you're going to see once we get into the tool. So first thing you'll hopefully notice is much more visual than any of our current tools, ADS or OPlan. You're going to be able to zoom in to an interactive map that you can get down to the intersection level if you want, or zoom out to the national level, and then filter by variety of aspects such as media type, operator, be able to add in Geopath IDs or unit IDs in a really easy format. So you can just copy and paste them from an Excel file, you can copy and paste them from an email or Word document, and the tool is smart enough to just translate that and understand what you're doing. So that's going to a nice, easy, big change from some of our older tools as well. And we'll show you all of this once we get into the tool. One of the key things that we wanted to build is a tool that is flexible enough for you to explore however you want. And we heard loud and clear as we were developing that audience is key, right? And you want to be able to look, sometimes you really need to go in and just find an audience and start your planning from that aspect versus inventory focus. So really the tool is kind of I like to say a choose your own adventure type of tool. So you can explore audience first if that's what's important, or if you need to go from a market focus first, that's what's important, you can do that, or if you just need to start with the market and inventory. So it's, again, it allows you to be flexible in how you want to plan and how you want to identify your inventory. And then every piece of inventory in there has a lot of data with it. So every audited piece of inventory is mapped and has its key inventory attributes and market information, but also you're able to filter on a variety of things. So reach frequency, composition, just overall impressions, and start to work with that inventory in a number of different ways, again, which we'll show you. That's at a high level, so I want to talk about some of the things that have changed since May. Before I do that, though, one of the things I forgot to mention is that if you do have questions, please put them in the question widget. I appreciate everybody letting me know you can hear us okay. But if you do have questions right along, please don't hesitate to ask, and we'll do our best to answer everybody's questions before we get off the session today. So some of the new things you'll see in the tool, if you were at the May session and you haven't been in since, so you'll see that we've changed the way the audiences are being shown to you. And this is in service of so that we can start to add in more and more different attributes. I mentioned there's going to be the ability to have somewhere around 10,000 different audience attributes here. So we needed a way to cleanly allow everybody and easily to be able to search for the different attributes that are in there, because with 10,000, you don't know what you don't know. So you're going to need to be able to explore and see in an easy way what are the different audiences. So right now, honestly, we have only a handful, and that was purposeful. So as we start to be able to test and pressure test the data in the tool, we only wanted a few attributes in there, but quickly you'll start to see more attributes being added. So by this time next month, that should be many more audience attributes will be in there. The other thing that's new to this release is the ability to build and save and add custom inventory sets. So again, if you get a list of inventory from an agency and you need to explore those, or if an agency gets a list of inventory from a media provider, you can use that and copy and paste those in and create a custom inventory set, and you start to work with that. And we'll show you how you can do that, how you can edit it, how you can delete different aspects of, mix and match the different inventory once you've set that set up. A couple of usability enhancements as well. So one of the requests was to start to nest a little nicer the way the inventory was listed and showing, and you'll see that's been done. And also, if you were on the call last month, might have noticed that the top zip codes, top market areas was too common, and those are in there, and it's a really great feature to really help you see where that inventory is drawing audience from. And one of the things you might see is that it's not always, that piece of inventory isn't always in the zip code where it's drawing audience from. And that's something I think when I'm out on the road talking with members, that's something that's a story we try to tell. And now we have the data behind it to tell that story. And so we'll show you an example of that as well. And then while it's you have the ability to look at everything from a map level, you can also look at it at a table level and start to work with this table in terms of being able to sort inventory by total impressions or by target impressions or by reach and frequency when that becomes available in the coming weeks as well. So, and if any of you had the opportunity to be at the advanced training session that we did in Austin at the conference, this was a use case that we were working out, and now you're able to, in the tool, be able to do that. And because again, sometimes a client or an advertiser may want a mix, obviously, of inventory. I want some that have given me big impressions. I want some that give me really targeted audience, and you need to kind of create that package. And this is the start of that, of the ability to create campaigns and packages within the tool itself. So without further ado, let's take a look, and Brian's going to jump in and do the walkthrough of the tool. And as we do that, like I said, please feel free to stop us and ask questions right along. And we want to make sure that everybody finds this valuable and useful. So I'm just going to hand it over to Brian for a second, and we'll do the walkthrough.
All right. Okay, so when you first launch the Insight Suite, this is the landing page for those of you who've seen it before, or if not, I'm going to take you through each of the tabs here on the top, right up here, and then talk a little bit about the side over here before we get into anything too specific. So, as Scott mentioned earlier, this is the audience warehouse, or I'm not even sure what to call it yet, but this has been expanded since last time. This is one of the major changes, and as Scott had mentioned, there's going to be upwards of 10,000 or more variables that are going to be available in here. So this has now search features, like he was saying. When we move over here, we can look at the different markets you might want to look at. And this is at a DMA level, and you can search through these. Coming over here next, we've got the inventory types and an update from last time. These have been nested, so they just show you the totals. And if you want to look more specifically, you can expand them and then click there. We come over to operators. You can see all of our client operators here and the number of, inventory pieces they have. Location, there's a couple of different things you can do here. You can draw custom shapes. So say you wanted to look at just a little area, an intersection or something like that. You can use the draw tool to do that. You can search for a specific geography, maybe a zip code or state level or something like that. You can do that here. And this is location. Yeah. So move on to the More tab, and that has a couple different things here. Say you have some Geopath panel IDs you want to look at specifically, you can just paste those in here or type them. Same thing for your own plant unit IDs. And then down here, the saved inventory sets, that's one of the new updates, and we'll get to that in a minute. And that sort of, you can explore and create and do a bunch of things in there. So we'll talk about that in a minute. So first I want to, let's just take a look. Let's look at an operator and see what happens when we choose, let's pick Adams. They have a lot of inventory sort of spread out. And so when you pick an operator, you can, sorry, wrong way. You can see that it goes from having all those green inventory pieces to sort of a count of the concentrations. And you can see based on the size of the circle where the heavier concentrations of inventory are. And this is good if you're trying to look at sort of a national level, you have an area you want to look at, or maybe you want to see, which area has the most inventory that you're trying to look at. This is just a good place to start with that.
I think it's also like if you need to explore a specific market and you want to see who's in there as well, it's another way to kind of start to do this specific, just looking at a specific provider as well.
And I think it'll also nest those. Let's just. Yeah, say you just looked at a state level, it also does the same kind of, oh no, it doesn't, never mind. I thought it did. We'll come back to that in a bit. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, it's just like the zoom
I was zoomed too far in. But it'll nest it. So this is all the inventory in the state, and again, it sort of clusters it based on the concentration of that. But so we looked at operator. So it'll do the same thing if you're looking at operator. Let's look at let's pick an audience. So right now we're just doing adults 5+. That's sort of total impressions. Let's go to Starbucks. Starbucks is a pretty concrete example that we like to choose. It's an easy thing to sort of compare against. So once I've done that, you can now see that this has changed over here. It was 49 billion because we were just looking at everyone, but now our target impressions are 6.5 billion weekly impressions, and that's a 14% target composition of the total. So that's actually just a good number to keep in mind as sort of a baseline number. You know, when we zoom into a market, we can compare it against that and get an understanding of how that market compares to the national average. So let's take a look at a specific market. I'm going to do Providence, Rhode Island, because I actually went to school up there, and I know that specifically New England, but especially in Rhode Island, there's a lot of Dunkin' Donuts drinkers. So I thought that might be fun to look at comparing to a Starbucks audience. So you can see once we put on a market, it changes the metrics on the right side, and it also again does sort of the clustered point there. Got about 1,000 inventory pieces there. I'm just going to put it as total impressions. You can see this is, well, I'll talk about all this in a second. So let's just zoom into the market itself, and once we get past that clustered point, you can see these colored pieces start to pop up, and we have a key on the left side over here that'll explain what those are. Orange is the bulletins, the yellow posters, this teal color is street furniture. And when we start to get in a little bit closer, you can see that these icons are going to change. And so the key also changes to reflect that. But say you want to know a little bit more about what these actually mean, what these different symbols mean. So you come over here to this feedback area. There's a search function. There's lots of great things in here, but let's just search for icons. We want to know what the icons are. Map key, symbols, icons, iconography. So this little article here gives you a good understanding of, you know, okay, this little semicircle, that's directionality. This one's two sides, you know, and it's digital or units that have a dark circle around them. Let's say you wanted to read a little bit more. That little out arrow right there brings you to our support page, and there's a full article on this, lots of really good info, and some links and stuff down here. But so this is actually a really great place to come if you have questions about anything having to do with the Insights suite. You can kind of backtrack it and go to the homepage of this, or if you want, it's just support.geopath.io. And there's lots of really great things in here. This is really cool. What's new in version 0.619? That's what we're looking at today, and this is basically what we're talking about today. It's just an article highlighting the changes in this, and you can sort of follow back and see, you know, over time the changes. And
also, just sorry,
yeah.
Right. And also that'll get updated too as new features and functionality come out. So every time there's a new version that comes out, if it's in between like this session and the next time we do a webinar, you know, just check here and see what those updates are as well.
And if you come to this session, lessons right here, this is some video tutorials that, lessons and tutorials that we've been building, and we sort of started at an audience fundamentals and measurement fundamentals level, going back all the way to, you know, what are impressions, what are GRPs, how do you calculate those, and then more advanced things like what is segmentation and how do you do that based on behaviors, and why that's important to use. And we're going to be expanding this as this tool keeps expanding and updating, and as it sort of reaches later stages, we'll be having more videos like that. This is a great resource. There's lots of great stuff on here.
And I just wanted to jump in too, and those two video tutorials, those are going to be part of what we're creating as a education and training program on just the Geopath Insight Suite, but Geopath in general. So we start with the basics that Brian just talked about in terms of the those basic media math types of things. And then we're going to be adding video tutorials on how to actually do various aspects of the tool. And then we tie it all together. So I'll give you a quick overview of that by the end of this session, but just wanted to, it was a great opportunity for Brian being on this part of the page to just talk about that right now.
And again, like I was saying, you can access that site through the feedback. Let me minimize it so you can see where it is. It's this little purple button down here, and it was this little out arrow, which is on every different search result that you find. So if you need to visit the site, that's where you can find it. So again, we're looking at the Providence DMA. Let's filter it down. Let's look at some different media types. Let's look at posters, and let's look at some transit shelters. There we go. Apply. Okay, so you see it kind of cleaned up the map a lot. The key has changed to reflect what we're looking at. Let's see. Let's take a look over here on the right side. We'll look at the total impressions. Let's look at target impressions. So we can see again, our audience is people who've been to Starbucks in the last 30 days. Let's filter. We'll look at the top 25 that meet that audience for impressions. And so you can see it's changed it, and you can hover over it, and it'll show you which one we're looking at by that moving star there. Let's take a look at this one, and we'll just we'll click this in a second. But it gives you a high-level overview about that poster. It tells you where it is, some unit ID numbers, height, width, orientation. Let's click here for more details. So you can see there's a photo sheet of where it is right there. It does an audience overview, so it kind of breaks down the top audience segments, illumination, everything like that. And it also, this is a really important thing, and Scott mentioned that earlier, it talks about top zip codes, so where the audience is coming from. So you can see it's pretty dispersed here. The top zip code being 02914, 36% of the audience coming from there. And this is really interesting, actually. You can get a sense of in-market versus out-of-market impressions. So 89% of the weekly impressions are coming from the Providence DMA, but you can see that the Boston DMA is actually delivering 11% of the impressions for this board. So I think that's just a little interesting thing there. And if you scroll down, actually, we can see weekly audience summary, and it goes through the total metrics and then target metrics again for our Starbucks market. And you can see this one actually over-indexes for Starbucks drinkers. So, maybe if there's a Dunkin' Donuts nearby or Starbucks nearby, this would be a good board to try to win some customers from one or the other. And if you want to look a little bit more, or if you want to export this, you can.
Sorry,
yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, Brian. One thing I just wanted to mention too, this opportunity overview, I always really find that very exciting, but that's going to change obviously as we add more audiences in there. So there'll be many more. I think we'll always filter to the top 5 or so, but it's not going to be just this group that's in there. So there'll be many different ones and different boards. We'll over-index for different audiences. Right.
Right now, it's just ranking the top of the 9 or whatever it is that we have. But so if you want to export this as a PDF, there's this little button up here right in the top corner, and it will generate a PDF for you. And it's basically exactly what you were just looking at right there. And the second page has some really great definitions and some calculations that you'll be seeing up here. So, how is all this calculated? What does that mean? And that comes with every time you export one of these. You can also just view if you click this I button right here, you can see all that same information right there as well. All right, so I'm going to close that. So let's say we wanted to, these top 25 for target impressions, say we wanted to create a subset of these. That was one of the new features that we were talking about. So we want to create a package, so to speak, of these top 25. So let's export these. So in this Save As drop down over here, you can see Save as Inventory Set. So we're going to call these Prov Starbucks Top 25 Posters. You can call it anything. And you can, leave a little description for yourself, save and keep exploring. Success. All right, great. So now we have this target subset right here. And I'm gonna clear off all this here so we can just see everything again, and then I'm going to load in. So if you go here to this More tab, search saved inventory sets, let's find the one we just created. It was this one, Prov Starbucks, top 25 posters. We're going to apply that. Here we go. Here are our posters. Let me zoom out a little bit so we can see them all. Ooh, yeah. So these are our top 25 posters for based on target impressions. This was just that subset that I created. But let's say you know, these three are a little close together. So you can see it highlights the one that we're looking at right here. Let's say we want to deselect it. We don't want them that close together. We'll just have 24 in this grouping. So if I click this button that says selected, it'll just deselect it. So now there's 24 in this subset. Let's save this as another package. So Prov's top 24 Starbucks. So now we have two different inventory sets, and the idea is that a little bit later down the line, the projects and reports tabs over here, there's going to be a lot of collaborative capabilities between people, you and people within your organization. So I could share this this inventory set with Scott if I wanted to, and say, you know, here are the 25 units that I was looking at. And so the idea is that this really helps with.
And it's also gives you the ability to create projects.
Right.
If you're working for specific clients and different campaigns. So that this is the beginning of,
yes.
of that those capabilities and that functionality set. Because projects and reports tabs, they're once you click to them, they say coming soon. So
right.
A lot of that functionality is on the schedule to be ready to go in the coming weeks.
So I'm going to clear off our inventory set. So we're looking at and let me just set this back to all. So we're looking at everything again. I have a unit that I wanted to just look at. Say you have like a specific unit you want to take a look at and just get a little bit better understanding of. So 307.
As Brian's doing that, there was a quick question on when, will this tool work for transit, and when will fleet be in there? And that is being developed. It will work for our transit inventory. That we're actually building the pilot for that right as we speak, and that should be by the end of the summer into fall, early fall. You'll start to see that functionality coming online with the tool.
This was that unit I just put in the Geopath ID, and we're taking a look at it now. So let's just look at this back of the card here. You can see top zip code, 32% of the audience comes from this zip code here, 02914. Let's take a look at that zip code. Let's see what that's all about. 02914. Oh, sorry. Okay, that's really interesting actually. You can see that 32%, that was the highest zip code percentage for this audience. It's actually not where the piece of inventory is. So 32% of the weekly impressions are coming from outside of the zip code where that is. And that's kind of something that for a long time we've been expecting and understanding that's been happening, but now we can actually visualize that and see that in a concrete way on a map, which is really exciting.
And I think too, just sorry jumping again, but as you start to think forward, it's great for an individual piece of inventory, but obviously we know we create campaigns and packages of inventory, so to see this on a package level is what's coming, and that's where I think the exciting part is, to be able to see as a heat map of where's the audience coming from this package of inventory. Mm-hmm. So it helps you be more targeted and really get a sense of, are we targeting the zip codes we need to, and is the inventory clustered in the right areas, et cetera. So again, all in service of being able to build those campaign packages that we know you all need to do.
So let's go back. Let's clear this out. So we want to look at everything again, and we're going to get rid of this zip code and just clear that. So let's take a look. I'm going to zoom out so we can take a look sort of at the Providence market as a bit of a whole here, maybe a little bit more in. Okay, a feature that I haven't talked about yet, this little down arrow right here, let's click that, we'll open that up. And so this is sort of a tabular data view of what we're looking at here. And so this is a really great way to maybe construct a package. Say you have a client who wants to have some that are really good that deliver a lot of impressions and some that are sort of hyper-targeted for your audience. So this is a really good way to go about doing that. So I'm gonna deselect everything, and we're just gonna start and build a little package right here. So let's filter it. We're gonna do by weekly impressions. We're gonna filter for the highest weekly impressions. So I'm gonna click on. We'll do a package of 10 total. So you can see I'm clicking on the top 5, and let me zoom out a little bit so you can see it. As I'm clicking those on, they're popping up here on the map. All right, so these deliver a lot of impressions. Let's take a look. Let's pick some that deliver really highly against that target audience. All right, wow, these actually really over-index these few. So, and again, this is for our Starbucks target audience. So let's select these top 5 for target audience. And you can see it's kind of a variety, actually. It's pretty nice. There's some bulletins, there's a poster here, there's a transit shelter. All right, so that's let's call that our package of 10. So I'm going to come over here to the Save As dropdown, and we're going to download this as a CSV. And let's take a look at some of the metrics that are going on here. Open that in a second. Okay, so we can take a look, transit shelter, poster, junior poster, bulletins, and we can see the lat longs, illuminations, sort of panel level details and things like that. And then we have audience information and target audience. And this is kind of the thing that you would have in our, you'd get from our ADS system right now. But I'm going to take these Geopath IDs right here. I'm going to just copy them into the tool and use that to create a subset. So we're going to minimize this and go to more here. And I'm just going to paste in those Geopath IDs, and it recognizes them like that. I'm going to hit apply. Okay, so now it's just showing us those 10 that we looked at. Let me expand this over here. So you can see these are our 10 right here. And I'm going to save this. So let's call this, I don't know, Providence top 10. So this is that top 10 group that I looked at. So some of them were high impression deliverers, and some of them were really highly indexing for Starbucks drinkers. So it's just a really good way to sort of build a subset of the inventory based on a couple different metrics, and it really helps you get a sort of wide-reaching campaign like that. I don't know, see if there's any questions or anything.
Just a couple of quick questions. One, somebody was asking when this will be archived, these sessions, and we'll coming out of these sessions, we always archive them, and
yes.
They'll be right on the homepage, not the homepage, but the decal tab of our website. You can go there and always see the most recent webinars that we do, and also go to our YouTube channel as well. So this will be soon, probably by the end of today.
Yeah, by the end of today. I'll upload one from today, and we did one yesterday too. I'll get those both up.
Which is very similar.
Yeah.
And then somebody else was asking about the ability to upload a spreadsheet of zip codes to see kind of the the coverage area of the inventory. That will be a functionality. You will be able to do that. It's just not part of the capabilities just yet.
Great. All right. I think I'm going to turn it back over to Scott, and we're just going to start talking about some of the coming things in the. I'll let him switch over.
Okay. Cool. Okay, cool. One thing too, actually, as I was sitting over there, I wanted to make sure everybody's also aware of this, because I know I talked about providing feedback, and Brian did talk through some of this as well. But another way to provide feedback to us is this contact button here. So if you're in the tool and you run into some issues with some functionality or things like that, we want to know about that, especially at this point, because it helps us kind of fix any issues or kind of add to new ideas. So you can click here, submit feedback or ideas, and it's just going to ask you to kind of provide your name, the topic, and a little description of like, hey, wouldn't it be great if you could do X, Y, or Z? Send us those things. Another thing you can do as well is like if you're looking at specific inventory and you think something, or maybe you're not finding a piece of inventory in there yet, you can tell us here and just let us know the Geopath ID so we can go in and specifically explore that. And then the other thing is if there's an issue with the tool itself and how it functions, we can provide information there. And we'll respond to you, very quickly on, thanking you for this, but also giving you kind of a sense of how we can resolve the issue for you. So I just wanted to let you know that that's there as well. Otherwise, I'm going to jump back to the deck really quick. Talked a little bit about the training and onboarding. Again, we're building this, and as the tool becomes more fully realized, we'll have specific tutorials on how to do various aspects of the tools, such as things like Brian was just doing today, creating and saving a package of inventory. There's actually a little video tutorial on that as well if you go to the video update section. But again, here is the website. Now, Brian mentioned it quickly, but it's support.geopath.io if you ever need any other information. There's, again, a lot of information on and articles on like why the impressions are changed. Why might they be changing, again, given the level of data that we're going to be importing into the tool. Also things on, like Brian said, what's an impression? How do you calculate a GOP? All this information is there in video format, and also we have one-pagers as well as some mini presentation decks to help support that as well. I'm just pausing to see if there's any additional questions. But in the meantime, as you're typing those in, I want to let you know about some upcoming webinars we have. So we're going to be doing a session on how planners plan and how buyers buy. So really focused on how planners and buyers are using data to make decisions, whether that's Geopath data or other data inputs that they use at their agencies. So it's going to be a couple members from Horizon, Out of Home Pitch, Rapport, McDonald Media on the call with us. And just, I think that's going to be a really great session. We're going to talk from each of them from their perspective on the importance of data and how they use it at their agencies. And then also, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to be doing these types of update sessions every month to talk about what's changed and what are the new features and functionalities coming into the tool every month. So we're scheduling those for, and I'm going to try to keep this same cadence. So last Thursday and Friday of each month, with the Thursday one being in the afternoon and the Friday one being in the morning, just so you can start to think about it and start to have a general idea of when to plan for with your schedules. So I wanted to let you know that. And then again, if there's no more questions, it doesn't seem like there are. And if you think of something coming out of the webinar, just email us at geekout@geopath.org as always, and we can get you an answer as soon as possible on those questions. But again, just want to thank you everybody for joining us on this Summer Friday. So hope everybody's got some fun weekend plans, and thanks for joining. Have a great weekend, everyone.